Welcome to Illini Insights, a podcast dedicated to learning more about the employees who make up the diverse and talented community at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. In this episode, we sit down with Candice Anderson, State Master Gardener Specialist at the University of Illinois Extension. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a Master Garden Specialist?
I sure can. How you want me to go as far back as?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, my name is Candice Anderson. Like you said, I'm the State Master Gardener Specialist, which in layman's terms essentially mean that I organize the Master Gardener program for the state of Illinois through U of I. So I got my start in kind of this area really in high school. I took a horticulture class in high school that really piqued kind of my interest. I really enjoyed it. I was good at it. So then I was kind of like, well, what do I do with that? What can I do with horticulture? And I always thought I was going to be a teacher. So what I kind of came to my mind is like, well, I'm going to study horticulture and think about either maybe teaching at a community college or working with extension, because I had known what extension was because I was a 4-H'er. Ever since I was a little kid. So I went to Parkland College, got my associate in horticulture there, transferred to U of I, finished my horticulture degree, and still decided I wanted to teach. So then I was like, well, I probably need a master's in order to do that. So I stayed at U of I, got my master's in ag education, and then started working for extension right out of grad school as a horticulture educator.
Wow.
And here I am today.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us about the program. Tell us about a little bit more about what you do currently.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with the Master Gardener program, it's a volunteer program. We have a couple of different volunteer programs in extension, and I can share some of those later too. But essentially our mission with the Master Gardener program is to help others learn to grow. That's our mission statement. So the idea is that we educate. So we have a training program for any adult interested in gardening. They go through about a 60-hour training program, so they learn a ton of gardening information. They have a 2-year kind of internship period then where they start volunteering out in their community and putting that knowledge to use. And then after they've done a certain number of volunteer hours, they become a certified active master gardener. And then we continually provide them more education. They do a certain number of continuing ed hours every year and then a certain number of volunteer hours in order to maintain kind of that certification. But yeah, then they go out into their communities and do just a bunch of different great projects and educational opportunities for all across the state of Illinois.
That is amazing.
It's cool.
That is really cool.
It's really cool.
What does your role as the State Master Gardener Specialist entail, and where do you work? Is it all over the place, or is it kind of like a centralized location?
Sure. Excellent question. So I'm in this statewide role. So I have a physical office in Clinton, which is kind of central to the state, but I also work mostly remote because I do serve the whole state. So nowadays I don't do a ton of kind of traveling to all the different county offices as much as we used to. So I'm mostly remote, and really my job capabilities as the state coordinator is largely our training program. So we have our training program traditionally up until the last couple of years really was traditionally held in person. So horticulture educators would travel to counties, they would teach the topics in person. Now we've switched to be mostly online and kind of a hybrid training program. So as the state coordinator, essentially, I organize, schedule, get the educators all lined up for those training programs. So that's a big part of it, is the training, bringing new master gardeners into the program, but then also maintaining all of the policies, all the changes, all the things that kind of apply statewide for the program as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's really cool. Okay, for those who aren't aware of what Illinois Extension is, can you give us an overview of what Illinois Extension is and then what the mission is behind it?
Absolutely. I'd love to. So Illinois Extension is essentially, to break it down simply, is the outreach arm of the university. So our kind of goal is to take that great research-based information that's happening on campus, all that awesome research, and then to spread it out through the rest of the state to all of the Illinois counties that we have throughout the state. So whether that's gardening knowledge, like I specialize in, or it's nutritional science, or it's family science, or it's crop sciences. Lots of great information is being distributed. So that's really our mission, is education to help the general public and spread that research-based information.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So a lot of community outreach, a lot
Yeah.
of getting involved. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you work with other UIUC employees across the state as in your role as the state master garden specialist?
Yeah, absolutely. So extension is kind of cool in that there is an extension office in almost every county. Not quite all of them, but almost every county has an extension office. And there's local staff that work in those extension offices throughout the state. And in particular with my Master Gardener program, we typically have a program coordinator in each either county or kind of group of counties. So I work closely with those staff who are working directly with the Master Gardener volunteers, because we have about 2,700 Master Gardeners throughout the state.
Wow.
So we definitely need that local staff support to make that happen. So I work closely with that local staff. And like I said, we serve every county in Illinois, and extension's grouped into units, which is typically kind of a group of counties. So we can have staff that cover the whole unit and all of the master gardeners in those couple of counties. Or in the larger counties, there might just be one staff person or a couple of staff person who are in charge of kind of that local group.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know Illinois Extension is kind of indicative of just being in Illinois.
Yep.
Is there anything outside of Illinois, or is it literally just centralized in Illinois?
So our program is just centralized in Illinois. There is a national Master Gardener program as well. I think 49 states have a Master Gardener program. I think there's only one that doesn't have one currently, and they're all, like us, run through the land-grant university and the Extension Service. So we have some volunteers who are maybe close to the border. They might live in Indiana and maybe volunteer with us in Illinois. But yeah, for the most part, it's happening in our state. Yeah.
Which is still a crazy,
it's
a
a lot
crazy amount of space to
Yes,
cover.
It is, yes. And very different all the way from Cook County, our Cook County programs, all the way down to our Southern Illinois programs. Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you find most rewarding about your job?
Oh, man. Probably the people, just seeing the amazing things that our volunteers do out in their communities, the creative projects that they come up with, the just the needs that they fulfill. If there's a local need that's popping up in their community, they can react to it very quickly usually and either come up with a program to help that particular group of people or provide education help in any way they can. It's just really cool to see and again, the difference in the programs, and it's all based on community needs. So it's really cool to see what they come up with.
So you in essence kind of have to be a leader out there, give an example for your community, for a community.
I try to be. Yep. And then they'll run it past me sometimes and be like, "Can we do this? Is this allowed? Is this a policy thing?" And I have to be like, "Yeah, sounds great. Let's do it." Or sometimes like, maybe not. Maybe let's not do that. But yeah, I try to. And we always try to stay in communication. We have chats with all the staff, so if somebody's doing something really cool, they can share it with the other groups, so everybody kind of shares ideas really well too, which is great.
Yeah, so it feels like a team,
yeah.
Even though you're not close,
exactly.
You're still this, awesome team.
Yeah, we're usually together one time a year here on campus, but otherwise we're all on Zoom meetings. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, can you share any particular memory or a memorable experience or projects you've worked on during your time as a state Master Garden Specialist?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
It could be one,
Yeah, I mean, so I'll give it personally. One of my favorite experiences. So I mentioned the Master Gardener program is a national program. They're also trying to reach more internationally too. So I think this was it was probably my second year with Extension. I haven't been an employee very long, but the opportunity came up to speak at the Korean Master Gardener Conference, which is being held in South Korea. I put in a proposal for a presentation. It got accepted, and we were kind of like, oh boy, let's now we got to figure out how to make that happen. And luckily, we were able to make it happen. I got to go there, give a presentation on it was actually on youth gardening and kind of getting youth involved with master gardeners. Got to see just a lot of the cool agriculture. Went to the DMZ zone, just some really cool experiences. So yeah, personally, that was probably my favorite memory in this role. Overall, it's hard to just some of the projects that, especially coming out of COVID, just the reaction time and just the cool stuff that people did in their communities to mobilize and grow food and do all of that kind of stuff was just really cool. Really cool to see. Yeah.
Because you can really be a supportive arm to your community if you know how to, grow tomatoes, grow all these fresh produce. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to actually move on to our rapid fire round.
Okay.
This is a series of either or questions that are meant to be fun. So I'm going to start off with the first one.
Okay.
Book or movie?
Movie.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Would you rather have a garden full of flowers or vegetables?
Flowers for sure.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Eat in or eat out?
Eat out.
Beach or mountains?
Beach, probably.
That one surprises me. I thought you would pick mountains because it would be more like I know.
Beach is a good escape from the plants. So if I need like a break from gardening, then it's nice to go somewhere where I can't think about it as much.
Yeah. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Favorite hobby?
Gardening. That's probably a given.
Favorite childhood memory?
Ooh, probably our summer vacations to Indiana Beach.
Oh, I love it.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Ooh, probably Australia right now. I think would be really cool. It's on my list.
All right, we're gonna segment back into our questions here. So, how has the field of gardening evolved during your career, and how has the University of Illinois Extension accepted those changes?
That's an excellent question. So I would say, I've been with Extension now 11 years.
Wow.
So I would say when I started, and I started working in kind of the northwest part of the state, that was where my first counties were. We did a lot of public programs where we would pop up in a library. We would host them at our extension office, and we would try to get people to come there to learn about a particular gardening topic. Let's say rain barrels or vermicomposting or whatever it might be. And sometimes it was hard to get people to come in person, like take the time out of their day to come learn about a particular gardening topic. So I think COVID in particular, and even before that, I think we learned that one, we've really got to go to them, whether it's to their community center or somewhere that's more centrally focused, but also it needs to be as flexible and easy to get to as possible. Yep. So when we shifted over to Zoom, that really changed our educational game, really, because we could host those Zoom meetings in the evenings at any time, really. And then we had that capability just to record them and put them on YouTube at a later date. So we were able to reach so many more different types of gardeners besides our traditional audience, which might have been retired folks who were able to make it at a certain physical location at a certain time. So it's been really cool to see an influx in younger gardeners, which is awesome to see. And really just an increase in gardeners overall. I think we would, of course, with COVID, we saw that people were they had more time. They were gardening a lot more. So it's been really cool to see an influx of people who need to learn just the basics, like where to start, where to get started. I think sometimes with that research-based information, that's our goal, obviously, to get that out there. But sometimes we're speaking to that master gardener audience who already knows a lot of that stuff, or they're just building on top of that. It was cool to see the need for just this really introductory, how do I grow a tomato in a container kind of information. So I think it kind of shifted our focus over the years to our audience, for one thing, and then kind of what particular topics we're talking about.
Yeah, I noticed during COVID that a lot of my friends actually started to pick up gardening because it was a sort of escape, and I myself did the same. You know, I I planted more stuff than I ever have in the
Right.
past. It
Right.
was great. Now I'll say I don't have a green thumb, so most of that stuff did not
Hey,
last at all. But
that's part of it. You
it's part
learn
of
as you go.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and houseplants, man, that's been a really cool trend to see too. Like just the way increase in interest in houseplants during COVID in particular. But I think it still has stayed this kind of trendy, cool thing with young people that they just love houseplants, which is awesome.
It really made me appreciate how delicate it is, and how your actions really have a huge impact.
Yep. Yeah.
So one other thing that I wanted to ask you about was, I know you mentioned that you were in the north. What did you say, the north?
Yeah, I was. The 6 kind of northwestern counties, way up close to Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have the flexibility to move around if you want, or how does that work?
Yeah, really. In my position now, since I'm mostly remote, I can kind of work from anywhere. Essentially, I come to campus quite a bit for meetings and stuff still, so I stay close to to campus, of course. But yeah, when I started, I was a horticulture educator, which, like I mentioned with the units, are a little more unit based. So you work in kind of a particular zone of counties. So yeah, I started in kind of the northwest part of the state, and then I grew up in central Illinois. So I always knew I wanted to come back somewhere close to here. So then I transferred to a different horticulture educator position in kind of the Decatur area and those surrounding counties, and I've been here since. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give someone who is interested in pursuing a career path in horticulture or becoming a master estate gardener?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say don't pay attention to what you read online in terms of like salary levels and all of that stuff. That's one thing that's hard about horticulture, and we're still seeing a decrease in the amount of students in horticulture, which is a real bummer because it's an awesome field. But when you look at kind of the national levels of salary, it's a little bit intimidating because it's certainly not a kind of a higher paid field. And I know when I chose horticulture, my parents were kind of like, "Are you sure you want to go into horticulture?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love it." So I stuck with it. But that's what I would suggest is really do research on the different job field areas. There's so much you can do in horticulture, from sales to working in a greenhouse, landscaping, teaching, floral. Like there's just so many facets of it. And of course, people get into it because they love plants. That's our that's our passion. So that would be my suggestion: is really follow your passion, do your research, and job shadow too. Like find other people in the industry that are doing similar jobs. I never thought I'd be a state master gardener specialist when I joined Extension, but I knew I wanted to do something with horticulture, so that worked out well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I was doing some research on the website, and I saw you can actually sign up. There's a whole online registration for the master estate gardener.
There is,
which is amazing. So. You said that was around 60 hours of work, and then you have to do some extra time on top of that.
Yep, you got it. So typically, we have kind of an interest form on the website. There's a Become a Master Gardener page where you can read all about it. So typically what you do is, if you're interested or you just want to find out more information, you can fill that info online. We shoot you over to your local county because it's kind of up to that local county staff when they're ready to accept a new cohort of gardeners. And then, they let you know kind of when training is starting again. And then you go through training. There's paperwork. There's all that stuff to become a volunteer. Yeah. But anybody 18 or over, you can apply and join the program. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to our next question. Can you talk about any current or upcoming initiatives or programs that you're excited about?
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, ongoing, just continuing to tweak our training program has been one of the big things I'm working on. So I mentioned we have an online program. We have a hybrid program that was developed during COVID over the last couple years. So continuing to really kind of streamline that process to, one, make it easy for those who are interested, so make it as flexible as possible so they can take the training in the evening or the weekend or whenever they're available, but then also streamlining it for our extension staff too across the state. What's cool is we've seen, I think, especially in the more populated counties, an increase in interest, which is awesome. But then sometimes they're a little bit overwhelmed with the number of inquiries or people who are interested, which is great to see, but can sometimes be hard to handle if we have a certain number of staff. So I think, just really trying to streamline, make things as kind of simple as possible across the board and make it easier for our staff, but then also continue to provide the same level of kind of education for our current volunteers too.
Yeah. So one thing that came to my mind, so especially for those folks in Chicago, there's not a whole lot of room to garden.
Yeah.
So what do they do? I mean, in that situation.
Yeah. So we do a lot of programs on vertical gardening and container gardening and balcony gardening and that type of stuff, kind of maximizing the spaces you do have. But we do also a lot of programming on community gardens. So being able to rent a plot in a certain area or get a plot of land in a community garden and teaching people how to grow in that and kind of the certain things that are involved with that. So yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people join the Master Gardener program too, is because maybe they don't have a lot of their own growing space. So that's the great thing about Master Gardener projects is that we have projects at churches, at fairgrounds, at community gardens, at the extension office. Like there's a lot of different types of projects that they work on. So it kind of gives people an opportunity to experience a lot of different types of gardening too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Tell us about a day that you felt most proud to be an Illinois professional.
Oh man.
That's a very hard one.
That is a very hard question. Man, I can't think of a specific example. To me, the good days are when I get an email or a feedback about a particular program, specifically from like a volunteer. I tend to get a lot of problem emails like something's going wrong. Can you I tend to get a lot of that. I need help me. So I love the days when I get like some great feedback. Like let's say we just did a continuing ed webinar on natives and growing native plants, and Nancy, the educator, was awesome. She did such a great job on it. So getting those emails of like, thank you for organizing this. Thank you for putting this together for us. Those are the good ones.
Yeah.
Those are the good days. So when there's and sometimes after our state conference, we do a 2-day all education focus for the Master Gardeners once a year. So when we get those feedback of like, thank you for this, I learned this, that's the stuff that really keeps me going. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So now thinking about the entire university and its mission, how does your job at Illinois Extension relate to the overall mission? Like how does it contribute to the overall university?
I mean, I think, like I said, it goes all back to just spreading that great research that's happening on campus. That's our full goal. And the reason the Master Gardener program was started is for that purpose, really. Yeah. And actually 50 years ago this year, Washington State came up with the idea of Master Gardener. They were the first ones to do it. And the reason they started it was because they were getting so many gardening questions coming into their extension offices. And they only had so many staff. They're like, how do we handle all these questions? So they came up with the idea of training volunteers to answer questions. So, I mean, without these 2,700 plus volunteers that we have throughout the state, it would be so much harder to spread this great gardening information and answer all the questions and provide that education that we do. There's only so many of us U of I staff, so just this cohort of volunteers I think it's the essential mission is to get that information out there. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for joining us on Illini Insight.
Thanks
My name is Keith
me.
Miller.
Yeah. I'm Candice Anderson.
And we will see you next time on Illini Insight.